Welcome everyone to Mailed Fuzz News. I am Peter, and yes, Connor is here.
Somehow I returned.
Yes, with your old man jumper and glasses. You look like you're like practicing to be like a library professor or something.
I love jumpers. They are the best. This is the best time of year because I love to wear big, thick, woolly jumpers. They're great. And two, it's bloody freezing, so I am justified in wearing it.
I'm not judging. I never said anything negative. It just has a bit of an old man vibe, that particular shade, which I'm now noticing is very close to your hair, actually. Now that
It does look like that on camera. In reality, it's significantly lighter.
Okay.
Yeah, it does show up kind of similar on camera though, but it's a lot more of a light brown as opposed to, the gingery orange.
Yeah. Camouflage is meant to blend in with your background, not like your hair. just for future reference, though.
Hey, you don't know that. Camouflage in one solid block. No one will recognize it.
Yes, so welcome to TV News. It's been a long time since we had one of these, and we wanted to get back to doing them on a somewhat regular basis. Now, the plan is for these not to be weekly. The plan is for these to be about twice a month. The idea behind that is, one, gives us a bit of leeway to get them recorded, and two, it means that usually there should be a reasonable amount of news to pick from to talk about. It might mean that we don't do every little story. I might be a bit more selective, but there should be a decent selection if there's 2 weeks between things. Now, having said that, there wasn't this time because we're in the second week of the year and we're still kind of getting over the Christmas slump. And almost every story I saw was all about celebrities losing their houses in fires in California right now. So, not a lot of actual news from this week, but it is the first sort of show of the year. There's an easy thing to do here, especially since we haven't had an episode in, I think, a year. I think the last time we did this was start of last January, funnily enough. It's basically, I went and looked and got a bunch of shows that are premiering this year that either have dates or tentative sort of windows. I got their official synopses, and we're going to do a bit of a preview of the year kind of episode for the most part. A little bit of news at the start, and then we'll see if these shows sound any good.
Yeah, I want to point out this is entirely your selection of shows, so this is a very biased selection.
It's not my selection of shows. I took everything from a Deadline article and then everything from another article I found.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll lay off then. Usually I thought you've just been cherry picking things that you like the look of.
There was no... The only thing I made a choice on, because it's all new shows, there's no season 2s or anything like that, is that there is a Game of Thrones prequel where I went, I'm not going to bother reading that paragraph. It's a Game of Thrones prequel.
Yeah, but it's the Hedge Knight. I assume it's the Hedge Knight.
That's not what it was called. Maybe it was. I don't remember. There's a new Game of Thrones prequel started this year.
Yeah, maybe I misremember which, because at one point there was like 5 different prequels in production, and I may be misremembering which one is actually happening. I thought it was the Hedge Knight, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Dunk and Egg. I don't know. There's too many. They put way too much Game of Thrones out.
Yeah, I started reading the synopsis to see if it was worth even reading, and I was like, oh no, this is basically just for people who already know Game of Thrones. I don't understand a word of this.
Is it, or is it just you?
No, because it was like in the age of this thing set before the show. It was all stuff that people who know Game of Thrones will have some context for. But it's hardly... I also didn't put in Daredevil Born Again, because I'm like, it's technically a new show, but it's just Daredevil.
It's more Daredevil, yeah. And this way we don't have to, you don't have to read all about Andor season 2 and
Yes. That's not season 1. That fit the rules.
Ironically enough, though, I don't know if you've got it in there, but there is actually some Star Wars news that also relates to Game of Thrones that just came out, like that came out today or yesterday.
I'm pretty sure I don't.
I will mention it later because it's actually kind of semi-big news in terms of the context of those shows. It's like a casting thing.
Okay. So just first up, there was a cancellation this week. The franchise was cancelled at HBO after one season. This was the satirical movie studios making a superhero franchise or a shared universe. Ended after one season. Never really heard anyone talk about it. I vaguely remember the premise from when it was first announced, but that's about it. And then speaking of HBO, they did confirm this week The Last of Us Season 2 is coming in April this year, although no exact date announced as of yet. So
yeah, that's pretty normal for HBO.
So yeah, we're getting lots of these windows and whatnot. Because I think Stranger Things final season is officially summer now, but
oh my God, that still hasn't come out.
No.
I feel like it's just been going on so long at this point. I kind of forgot.
Honestly, this is becoming so normal. These shows having like 2-3 years between seasons. Like Severance is another one that's starting soon, season 2, and it's been 3 years since season 1.
That's been 3 years.
3 years.
Wow. I didn't know it had been that long.
2021.
I don't like just
2022, I guess. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, but there you go.
Yeah. Apple, I don't know if they've just done it or it's coming up. They're doing like a free weekend for the
Yeah, I think it was just, or maybe it's this weekend. No, it was last weekend. It's either last weekend or this weekend.
I think it's Either way, the point is not to advertise. The point is to say, I actually think this is a very good idea, and I can't believe none of the others ever do this. Like I know, like occasionally, like you can get like a free trial, like a week free trial, but it's not the same as just hey, here's a random weekend, you can just do it. I know, like in gaming, so sometimes you'll get like a hey, free weekend on this multiplayer game. Anyone could just jump in, and the idea, boost it, and maybe you get it. But like, why does no one do this?
It's because Peacock only have like maybe one thing worth watching, and they can just binge it in that weekend, and then they'll never have to get Peacock.
That's a fair point. Yeah,
that's in theory. I can't name the one thing that would be worth watching on Peacock for the record. I'm just assuming there's one thing.
There must be something on there.
You would assume so. You would assume so.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think they got one.
Oh dear. So that's that. And yeah, just generally speaking, the fires in LA, obviously it's very severe what's going on right now. There's a bunch of different people, like regular people losing their homes, but notably there's a lot of celebrities losing their homes because they're actually getting like press time about it. The house is burning down. A bunch of shows have paused production. A bunch of the premieres have been cancelled or delayed because of this. Some shows are getting trigger warnings that are airing in the US because they're the subject of the shows about fires, and people might feel a bit, not in the mood to watch such a thing right now, especially if they live in California. So there's a lot of that going on.
People do live around there,
Oh yeah, the creative people for sure. Like Fallout Season 2 was meant to be, it's already started filming, but it was meant to be coming back after the Christmas break now, and it's been delayed by at least a few days to pending on the everything dying down. But so it's disrupting everything right now. So yeah, I
mean, with good reason. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, our own Tim from Streams After Midnight had to evacuate his house.
To double evacuate, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he had to evacuate twice. Despite the fact that some houses on his street are no longer there, he got lucky, and it seems like his house is fine and maybe has survived, at least for the time being. But hopefully that's
my favorite thing about this, because there's not a lot of good news about this story, other than his house is at least right now still fine. Obviously that's good, and him and his family are fine. My favorite thing though is his Twitter. So he was tweeting about evacuation and all this stuff. This is going on, and then the next 3 posts are just his tonight's reading and and whatever comic he told me. I'm like, okay, so you evacuate some comics. Obviously priorities.
Yes, all the comic books and movies he's bought that are just sitting there waiting to be burned. I'm just
yeah. But he took something, and it wasn't particular highbrow things that he took with it. It was just whatever was on his list to read next. Clearly, whatever's at the top of the pile, he's grabbed and is like, "That's going in the car."
Well, he wanted something for that night, didn't he? So he just grabbed it.
It was very Tim.
Yes, but evacuating with 2 kids, two dogs, and 2 cats. I can't imagine that was a stress-free thing. So best of luck to everyone in California. It's still happening. So, I mean, honestly, as far as I had like two other news stories, really, there wasn't really much to find. One was just that there's some cast for Dexter's getting another TV show, another reboot. Well, not reboot, another sequel show. So the prequel show is on right now. I did the pilot of that. It was terrible.
Wow, that's not what the comments said.
No, that's not what they said. They were very upset with me.
Yeah.
But no, it was a parody almost. The way it was like you walk in and oh, it's young Batista. You can tell because he's wearing his Hawaiian shirt. He's got his goatee and his hat. Like, yeah, clap everyone. We'll find out why he's named Han Solo. Just all sorts of prequel bollocks. But yeah, they've got some actors from the original show coming back, and an actor from New Blood, the grown-up version of his son Harrison, is going to be in the new show, which I guess all makes sense given that it's a sequel to, mainline Dexter.
Do people still care about Dexter?
Well, apparently, based on all the angry comments that I got on my negative prequel review, some people do seem to give a shit, even though it's just the exact. Like you would think that. Oh, we're doing a prequel, different time in his life. We'll do something that, it's a very different setting when he's trying to control his urges or whatever to kill. By the end of the pilot of that prequel limited series, he's got his job in the police station. He's just already where he was pretty much in the main show.
Oh, it's Dexter series 0.5.
Pretty much. His dad's still alive. That's it. That's like the one major difference.
He'll be dead by the end of the season.
Yes, although it does have a certain important recurring star in it, though.
Oh,
yes, someone from the hit television show.
I knew it was going to be this.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She played Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Sarah Michelle Gellar's in it. Yeah, she's in it.
That's an easy one for you. I'll let you have that
one. not the character was particularly noteworthy or anything, but it was just it's Buffy. She's here.
Yeah, I'll let you have that one. That is not the usual stretching you have to do.
No, that one was pretty easy, but yeah, all standards. Hey, Connor, do you like Holes?
Love it. No, unironically, I do actually love it. It's a great movie, great book.
I wasn't talking about a movie.
No, I know. Was a movie.
Was it about a TV show or that was just a completely random question. Did you like Holes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I love jumping in them. Who doesn't? How deep?
It depends. Does the Grand Canyon count as a hole?
Maybe.
It depends how tall you are.
I think it needs to be. Showing my lack of Grand Canyon knowledge here. Is it enclosed on all sides, or is it like open at one end?
Oh, I have no idea.
Because if it's open at the ends, it's not a hole. Then it's a trench, or in this case, a canyon. No. A hole has to be surrounded on all sides, otherwise it's not a hole.
Anyway, yes, that was a stupid joke because yes, Holes is getting a new TV show. I saw the movie a couple of years ago. I'd never heard of it until people made me watch it on stream, but it's a Shia LaBeouf movie based on a book. But they're doing a gender swap. We've got a teen girl now is going to be the lead character. Holes the series centers on a teenage girl who's sent to a detention camp where the ruthless warden forces the campers to dig holes for a mysterious purpose. And yeah, that was the premise of the movie too.
I think this is interesting, but I'm actually quite cautious about this being a gender swap version. Usually I'm pretty open to these sorts of things, but the premise of Holes specifically is very much about young boys specifically, and especially boys from poorer communities or minorities, and how the system fails them and like what it turns them into. So it's very specifically focused around that. That's like the core premise. So changing that will mean a lot of reworking needs to be done to make it actually function again. So I'm cautious about this one.
I mean, that's fine as long as they've accounted for that, and like the point that they want to do this version of the show is that they want to take a look at how female teenagers and like kids from poor neighborhoods are also failed. It's just a question of if the detention camp's the exact same as it was in that movie, then
that's what I'm really assuming though, like, do I trust them enough to have actually thought this through and changed it to have the new purpose, or will it just be basically the same characters with the same personalities, doing the same things as in the originals, but now they're girls instead of boys?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I mean, the movie was fine. I don't really feel particularly strongly about it. One way or the other.
I say this, I've not watched it in, I don't know, over 15 years. How old am I? It's got to be like early mid 2000s, right?
2003.
Okay, yeah. So I've probably not watched this since like nearly 20 years, since I watched it. It's been a long time, but I enjoyed it a lot of the time. It was very good, and I enjoyed the book when I was younger. So, but yeah. I think this is Disney doing this, right? This show.
Yeah. Disney Plus is the.
Yeah. I don't know how much real effort they're going to put into updating it in a smart way, as opposed to just taking the easy route. So yeah, we'll see.
I don't know if I've ever been that enthusiastic about a single Disney Plus show so far.
I have.
Yeah, you like Andor, but...
And for the record, Skeleton Crew is fantastic.
Okay, sure.
I've not watched this week's episode yet, but other than that, like, it's because it's the show I went into not really expecting much out of. I was just like, well, it's a new Star Wars show, I'll watch it. And it has been, outside of Andor, easily the best Star Wars show. It's not even close.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, that's basically it. I've got preview material now. I just got a couple articles with a big list of things, and I've got the synopses.
Well, just briefly then, while we're on Star Wars shows, there was the recasting for the Ahsoka show. Baylan Skoll did the villain, because the actor who played him, Ray Stevenson, died just before the show aired originally.
Oh, okay.
I think he died I think it was literally like a couple of weeks, maybe a month before the show aired. So obviously it was all like, you had all the dedications on the show, and that must have been a couple of years ago now when that came out. I'm sure time is weird right now. I don't feel like obviously I didn't realize Severance was 3 years ago, but so they're only just announcing the recast, and it is. This article is not telling me his name very obviously. There we go. Rory McCann, who played the Hound in Game of Thrones.
Do you want a reaction from me?
Do you remember who that was?
No, not a clue.
Hound, the big massive guy who befriends Arya Stark.
No,
Maisie Williams.
I mean, I know who that was.
The
but...
one who burned all over his face.
Nope, I don't remember at all.
Right. Anyway, he's reasonably notable because of that show, but also the important thing is the two actors were actually pretty good friends, so that's kind of why they've approached him for taking over the role, apparently.
Okay,
which is nice.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So that's that. All right, so we'll look at what's coming then, and this is a real hodgepodge, mixed bag. I try not to read too many of these synopses like fully, just to give our reactions as fresh as could be. I just need to make sure there was a synopsis to copy and paste in. So first up, coming on January 22nd to Prime Video is Prime Target. It's like they named it just for the service. What do you think this is about before I read this?
I hope I feel like it's some sort of like assassination hitman show, maybe. I'm absolutely completely off.
A postgraduate mathematics student discovers an effort being made to destroy his work in finding a pattern in prime numbers that would allow him to access every computer in the world.
One, how would that even work? Like, no. Two, no. What? Why is this how we're starting the year?
This is like a premise from like a movie from like 1995, written by people who don't understand computers.
And do you know what? I bet it's a perfectly fine 90-minute movie.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
I bet it's not a perfectly fine 10-episode TV show. And it's Amazon, so there'll be like an hour-long episodes.
Yeah, not much to add, but hey, it's a premise.
That it is.
Yeah, I bet you were thinking prime meant prime numbers. But
Well, why would I think that?
here we
Come
are.
on, nerd.
All right. CBS on January 26th, we have a show called Watson. So you might remember CBS had a Sherlock show a few years ago. Elementary?
Elementary? Was that CBS?
Oh, maybe that wasn't CBS, but I think it was CBS. But either way,
Elementary happened, yes,
yeah,
I remember.
It was on a network, whatever it was, right? This isn't connected directly to that, I don't believe, but it's just the American networks going back to the Sherlock Holmes well. Here's the premise. 1 year after the death of his friend and partner Sherlock Holmes at the hands of Moriarty, Dr. John Watson resumes his medical career as the head of a clinic dedicated to treating rare disorders. Watson's old life isn't done with him, though. Moriarty and Watson are set to write their own chapter of the story that fascinated audiences for more than a century.
Okay, so it's a Sherlock story, but without Sherlock.
Yes.
without the compelling thing that usually makes those the that's the main appeal.
Yeah, I have to. I'll be honest, I still can't see these characters be mentioned and not just get a shudder thinking about that last season of Sherlock.
Yeah.
I had forgotten so much of that season, and I watched a video about it, and it reminded me of just so... Because I like the person making the video. He does good videos, right? But he happened to do one about the last season of Sherlock, and I had forgotten so much of the bullshit. There was it showed a clip from the first episode of season 4 where Martin Freeman's on a bus and he sort of looks at a woman, and I remember all the anger flooding back to me at that moment when I first watched it of, oh, I bet she's going to turn out to be someone. This show just can't let this be a woman that he's looking at. It has to be someone super secret, and it's all a part of the plan. And I was right. Damn it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, that show went off the rails.
All right, next up, Paradise. This is a Hulu series on January 28th. So this is from Dan Fogelman, who did This Is Us. So that's kind of the cred behind this. Stellan K. Brown's in it as well. So there's two parts to this synopsis, right? They're basically two different things. One's like the little synopsis they actually put out officially, and the other one's something that I think Deadline or whoever put in as well. And I feel like the official one's really missing something out, which is why I've included the other one.
Which is, whoever wrote this article, editorial clearly were like, no, we need to add context to this, otherwise no one will give a shit. So
here's the official synopsis. Paradise is set in a serene, wealthy community inhabited by some of the world's most prominent individuals. But this tranquility explodes when a shocking murder occurs and a high-stakes investigation unfolds. Right.
Sounds fine, but generic.
Yeah, there's one thing they've left out of that, though, that gives it a bit more context.
Go on, context me.
Stellan K. Brown stars as the lead of the President's Secret Service detail who becomes a suspect when the President is murdered.
Yeah, that's a bit more.
Tranquil community. There's a murder. Yeah, the President.
Yeah, that's not just a murder. I mean, yeah, I assume.
Also, the President is played by James Marsden, he's there to die, which is just funny.
It's a perfect role for him.
Yeah, Teddy, it's just, I don't know.
Mr. Bland himself is there just to stand around, get shot in an episode, and then that's it.
Yeah, but I'd love a bland president, though.
Just had one.
Yeah, but I would like to continue having bland presidents.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bland is good.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Apple Cider Vinegar. This is Netflix, February 6th, based on a book starring Caitlin Dever. The series is understood to be inspired... sorry, it's not based on the book, sorry, it's based on someone's life. The series is understood to be inspired by the life of disgraced Australian wellness guru Belle Gibson, who had a huge following on social media where she claimed to be suffering from cancer, but was keeping the illness in check through health and wellness remedies. She later confessed that none of it was true.
I remember that. It was kind of wild.
I mean, it was a work, okay? She was working her marks, and if she just put like a little disclaimer at the start, the following is a work of fiction and should not be taken seriously, but no problem. But she was trying to convince everyone it was all real. So
yeah, and you know what? There is a word for that, and it's not work. Fraud.
Only if she's selling products.
I think she was. That was kind of her whole thing.
Well, fair enough then. But if she wasn't selling anything, then it would just be a really weird, elaborate practical joke.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure her whole thing was, hey, look at these things that I do in my life. I don't know if it was necessarily she was selling the product or if it was like lifestyle classes of like, these are things you can do. Either way, that's still a product or service. Yeah,
I would have assumed she had sponsorship deals for like other products, maybe not her own, but she was like advertising stuff and saying, "Hey, this
works, this helps, this cures cancer." Basically, like, yeah, that's fraud.
Aye, but it's like a cheekier version of fraud. It's not
until people get killed by it because they listened to her.
Whoa! I'm assuming they're harmless. I didn't expect that they were actually murder. It was killing people.
No. I don't think the products weren't actively killing people, but there were people who were ignoring their doctors and not going through like chemotherapy and stuff to follow her plan instead.
See, I feel like that's different than fraud. I feel like that's beyond fraud, and that's more like some form of malpractice. Except she's not a doctor.
Borderline manslaughter.
Yeah. That feels more appropriate. Fraud's just about cheating people out of money. This feels more like harmful, like I don't know, misdirection or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a bit closer to you drink this, drain cleaner to get rid of your illness.
Hey, it might work. I want to find out.
Don't take Connor's advice, everyone. I'm making that clear right now. Cassandra, a Netflix show, a German Netflix show, coming in February 6th. The oldest smart home in Germany has been empty since the owners died under mysterious circumstances over 50 years ago. When Samira moves in with her family, today the electronic household helper Cassandra awakens from her decades-long slumber. Developed in the 1970s to provide a family and a service after the death of their former residents, Cassandra now senses a second chance. However, she considers herself to be much more than a fairy godmother who gets everything in order. Cassandra soon sees herself as an equal member of the family and does everything she can not to be left alone again, using every means at her disposal.
Okay, so it's a psychotic house.
Well, robot.
Yeah, but like when it says it's a smart home, I assume that she has like control of all the systems.
Oh, she may, but I think there's like a central, like physical Cassandra.
Possibly, yeah.
Built in the 70s. This is really ancient for a smart house.
Hey, it says first ever.
It does. Honestly, not a bad premise. I'm intrigued. Admittedly,
HAL vibes from it.
I'd be intrigued maybe more for a 2-hour movie than I would be, 6 or 8 episode season. But
yeah,
it doesn't so bad by any means. There's things to like there. 0 Day. This is Netflix, February 20th, starring Robert De Niro. 0 Day asked the question on everyone's mind: how do we find truth in a world in crisis, one seemingly being torn apart by forces outside of our control? And in an era rife with conspiracy theory and subterfuge, how much of those forces are products of our own doing, perhaps even our own imagining? That was the plot.
Nothing.
Yeah, what's the premise? You said a lot of things at me.
The premise is De Niro.
You basically you somehow said nothing with that.
Yeah, that was a lot of words. I'm like, I don't understand. I understand what you're saying, but you're not saying anything.
Suits LA. So a Suits spin-off coming to NBC.
What the people are crying out for.
Well, it's not the billions, millions, and zillions shared universe. February 23rd for this. Suits LA centers on Ted Black, played by Stephen Amell, the Emerald Archer himself, a New York federal prosecutor who has sought a new chapter in Los Angeles, representing some of the most powerful clients the city has to offer. In order to save his firm from crisis, he must step into a role that he is not fond of. I feel like that last sentence isn't quite the catch they or the hook they think it is. Like,
Yeah.
saying he's not fond of it doesn't really tell me anything. Like, what is the role that he's not fond of?
Yeah. And how not fond of it is he?
Like, is he having to play defense instead of being a prosecutor? Because that's quite a switch. Like, maybe that's why he's uncomfortable, but I don't know. Not telling us. All right. Next up, The Studio, which is coming to Apple TV on March 26th. Seth Rogen stars as Matt Remnick, and the newly appointed head of embattled Continental Studios. As movies struggle to stay alive and relevant, Matt and his core team of infighting executives battle their insecurities as they wrangle narcissistic. How many vowels or syllables am I saying here? Narcissistic. I don't find myself saying that often.
I feel like you said it right the first time.
I probably did, but I doubted myself. I just doubted myself. Narcissistic artists and craven corporate overlords. And by the way, that was kind of personal and professional, I'm pretty sure, in there somewhere. But anyway, and craven corporate overlords in the ever elusive pursuit of making great films, with their power suits masking their never-ending sense of panic. Every party, every set visit, casting decision, marketing meeting, and award show presents them with an opportunity for glittering success or career-ending catastrophe. As someone who eats, sleeps, and breathes movies, it's the job Matt's been pursuing his entire life, and it may very well destroy him.
Okay.
I mean, they talked it up quite a bit.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, like, there's some pedigree with Apple, like, have a good track record at this point. Just doesn't really appeal to me by that description. But maybe it's actually really good drama.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on what it's for. I mean, that told us a lot more than that De Niro show did. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't really
Anything told us more than that De Niro show did.
Yeah, but it didn't quite tell us like what. I don't know. Like, it gave us
the vibe?
An idea of what they're doing. Like, I mean, obviously, yes, they're making movies, but like, is this season going to be about him trying to make one specific movie? Is it going to be, I don't know. What about his personal life? They have to tell me that the personal and professional life are both in play.
I'm sure they will be over the course of the season.
Next up, Your Friends and Neighbors. This is Apple TV again, April 11th. John Hamm, who's also executive producing, stars as Andrew Cooper, a hedge fund manager who's recently been fired and disgraced from his job and is coming to terms with a recent divorce. He resorts to stealing from the homes of his neighbours and in the exceedingly affluent Westmount Village, only to discover that the secrets and the affairs hidden behind those wealthy facades might be more dangerous than he's ever imagined.
Man steals from a drug lord.
You know, he discovers some secrets about his neighbours because he's stealing from them.
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't sound bad. Again,
potential, depending on what angle it goes down.
Yeah, again, Apple. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. We're making fun of Peacock earlier. Peacock is from Universal, who have been making movies and TV for like a century, and somehow Peacock struggles to have content. And yet Apple started with nothing. I mean, they had a lot of money, but they started with nothing in terms of movie and TV production. And in a couple of years, they've quickly had at least a nice half dozen of things that are worth checking out. So, give them a chance. Also, Apple, Government Cheese. This is April 16th. Starring David Oyelowo. I can't say his name properly. That's my best guess. Oyelowo. That'll do. That's the best I can get. Yeah. Government Cheese follows Hampton Chambers, a man recently released from prison who struggles to keep his criminal past at bay and win back his family, all while processing moments of divine intervention that seems to happen with increasing frequency. So that wasn't personal and professional. That was personal and
divine.
Divine, yes.
I got not what I was expecting when it went to divine intervention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially with the title Government Cheese. Like, I'm not sure where that fits into that, but
yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
I'm sure it'll make sense when you watch it.
Ironheart. This is Disney, June 24th. You can see the dates are starting to have big jumps because obviously we're getting further out. Things are less, locked in. But yeah, Riri Williams is struggling to dig herself out of a creative rut in the upcoming Disney Plus series Ironheart. She's pouring all of her energy into her next project when she's expelled from MIT, prompting her to find a new way to make money by working with Anthony Ramos's The Hood. So yes, is the sort of younger Iron Man style character from Marvel, who I believe.
Do not care. Never gonna watch it.
Was she introduced in something else? Maybe she was. I can't remember. Or I didn't see it because I've not watched anything from Marvel in the last 2 years.
Hey, I've not watched anything of Marvel in a long time.
I feel it seems like the sort of character that is shoved into something as a cameo, like in a movie 3 years ago, and prep for this.
Let's see, the last things I watched. I watched whatever the last Avengers movie was, Part 2,
Endgame.
Infinity War. Yeah, Endgame. Yeah, the second part.
Yeah.
So I watched that. I watched how many episodes of Scarlet Witch Vision?
WandaVision.
WandaVision, yes. How many episodes did I watch? 2 or 3?
Okay, something like that. I wasn't going to. I was forced though via Patreon to watch the follow up to that show, Agatha All Along.
Sure you had fun with that.
It was it existed. There was things.
That's
the things happened.
So I watched those, and I watched the season of Hawkeye. That is it. I'm completely out on everything.
That's only because you've got an unhealthy obsession with Haley Steinfeld.
That is not true. It's very healthy.
That's the reason why you watched that. Well, it was rumored this week she's going to be in a Champions movie with the rest of the young people, so...
I'm probably still not going to watch it.
Yeah. They'll do one sexy poster of Haley Steinfeld and you'll be like,
maybe, we'll see.
Yeah.
No, I probably don't. I'll maybe watch Hawkeye season 2 when that happens. If that happens. I mean, they claimed it would at some point, but these shows are just wildly inconsistent with actually following up on anything.
Yeah, there was a report a while ago. I should probably try to find this actually so we could talk about it. But there was a report about how Andor and something else, one of the Marvel shows probably, basically were like loss leaders, where like they actively lost money. But the whole idea is that they're like, hey, let's do a big show that'll drive people to the service, and then they'll stick around for other stuff as well. But
Did it work?
I don't know. But,
I'm assuming they have the numbers to confirm whether or not I did.
I mean, they give it Andor a season 2, so presumably it did well enough that they think it's worth pursuing more of.
It's weird what they're doing with that. Like, so I'm assuming you don't know anything about like the timeline of Andor into how this works. So like, the whole thing was marketed as like it's 5 years before, A New Hope, and it was and the first season takes place over 1 year, and then the second season is the remaining 4 years. I think it's like every 2 episodes every 2 or 3 episodes is going to be a year, and they're just going to jump through it like that. And part of me is like, was that always the plan, or was there meant to be a 5-season plan and this got cut very short because it actually is a very expensive Star Wars show?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, they're making cuts left and right. They're talking about Marvel tightening their belts and saying, hey, we're not going to do all these weird like characters now. We're going to like lock in. I mean, honestly, it's quite depressing that they've announced like, Chris Evans is coming back for the next Avengers.
It's all the money they spent on Downey Jr. That's where it all went.
But it's like, everything we've tried since the last Avengers hasn't really worked, so we're just going to go running back to all those actors and hope they'll come back.
I can't wait for them to spend all this money on them and then it's still not grab people the same way as the first. I think there's a little bit of a lightning in a bottle moment, right, where it hit the right time, it struck, but I don't see any follow-up anymore being as successful.
I mean, I would agree with that, but it feels, I mean, I've not seen it, but it feels like enough people were talking about Deadpool and Wolverine that it seemed like that was kind of a hit again in terms of...
Maybe, but that's a very different type of movie, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know. I think if you market a new Avengers with Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, and because I will say this, when they announced Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, like regardless of what you think of that announcement, and I do think it's a bit desperate if I'm honest, like it was the first time anyone in the internet was talking about Marvel for a while.
So I will say yes, I think it really captured the internet a lot. I don't think it'll capture the general public in the same way as the previous movies. I think there's a possibility if they do an X-Men movie, that might, because I think there's a little bit of a a hankering for that, especially, maybe like after Deadpool and Wolverine. I think maybe there's a little bit of an edge towards that angle. But I think just bringing them back for more Avengers stuff, while it might excite the internet, I don't know if it'll get everyone.
Yeah, I don't know, because by the time, well, not quite as it by the time it comes out, but like, the MCU started in 2008.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to be getting close to 20 years since it started.
Terrifying.
By the time some of these movies are coming out, so
It's insane that the MCU is as old as iPhones.
People who were born when Iron Man came out will be old enough to like vote and drink very soon.
That's so wrong.
It's very distressing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they're still alphas or the betas, because I know the beta generations are on the brink.
I think my one now is going to be in betas. So
yeah. Anyway, okay, back to the shows. That's your Marvel tangent. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
No.
We Were Liars. This is a Prime show. This is coming just generally sometime in summer. It's a series adaptation of E. Lockhart's novel We Were Liars, same name, focusing on the theme of consequences of one's mistakes. The series follows the wealthy, seemingly perfect Sinclair family who spend every summer sitting gathered on their private island. However, not every year is the same. When something happens to Cadence during the summer of her 15th year, she and the other three liars, Johnny, Gat, and Mirren, re-emerge 2 years later to prompt Cadence to remember the incident. I think grammatically that's a horrible way they've worded that.
Yes.
Because they're like, during the summer of her 15th year, and then
they emerge 2 years later. That's a weird sentence.
It was awkward. I get what they're saying. Something happens, and then 2 years later, they sort of like have to revisit it for some reason because something. Yes. It's I know what you did last summer, kind of, maybe without the slasher villain.
Hey, maybe it does have the slasher villain. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I mean it might, but I doubt it somehow. So it looks like a very dry thing just based on the title, but
could be surprised.
Alien Earth FX coming summer. This is one obviously I know a bit about already, but when a mysterious space vessel crash lands on Earth, a young woman played by Cindy Chandler and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers. Ragtag group of tactical. Those two phrases don't feel like they go together.
Can they be ragtag?
I mean, they can. I mean, if you have a bunch of soldiers who are not actually in service anymore and they come back together, but like, I don't know, it feels very specific.
Tactical soldiers. Like, that's not ex-servicemen. That's not people on leave. That implies kitted out and part of a squad.
If they're part of like a rebellion, I suppose they're ragtag, kinda. Potentially.
Maybe.
It's assuming they're not completely organized yet and they're just kind of starting to form. That's ragtag.
Yeah, I feel like tactical is at odds with ragtag, though.
Yeah. Anyway, they make a fateful discovery that puts them face to face with the planet's greatest threat in FX's highly anticipated series, Alien Earth, from creator Noah Hawley. I hope this is good. I mean, I like asterisks. Why is it set before the movies? Why does everything have to be a goddamn prequel? It's just annoying to me at this point. But you know what? It could be a fun alien monster romp. That's all I want.
I got less excited about this show once they revealed it was set on Earth. Like, because we knew Hawley was doing this alien show for quite a long time at this point. I think, it's set on Earth was probably the least exciting option they could have done.
I don't know, because they've not really done an alien movie on Earth. Not counting AVP. We're not counting those.
Why are we not counting those?
Because they're terrible. We've not had a good set on Earth alien movie yet, so there is potential here for unexplored quality.
There is. I don't know. It's not the most exciting thing to hear, but it could be very good.
Depends whereabouts it's landing, though. It'll be in a suburban area. It'll be in like a secluded, like, is this like the Thing where they're going to be at an Arctic research base and they're dealing with a xenomorph?
Let's Predator to it.
LA?
Yeah, why not? Just trying to say, go wild.
I've got a feeling they're going to spread quick and there's going to be a lot of facehuggers and eggs when there's that many people around.
do it.
Plus, budget comes to mind.
Yeah. It's a
Plus,
Netflix show. They got budget.
yeah. I mean, plus, it's the future still. I know it's set before the first movie, but it is still meant to be like, 21 something.
Yeah.
Anyway, Adults. This is an FX show coming just sometime this year. Previously titled Snowflakes, so I got a title change at some point.
I wonder why. A very provocative title originally to a very bland one.
Yeah, it's almost like the networks are scared of something after November. Yeah. A 20-something ensemble comedy following a group of codependent housemates. Billy, Samir, Anton, Isa, and Paul trying to be good people despite being neither good nor people yet. So this is good. This is more of a comedy show. So I mean, they didn't really tell us a whole lot other than just a bunch of roommates. But I mean, the last line at least gave me a little bit of tone.
I feel like the original title gave me I feel like I know what to expect with this to some extent, and whether or not the title change is. It could be just that, they're scared of that and marketing's like, no, don't do that. Or it could be the direction changed a little bit at some point and that's no longer indicative of the actual tone.
I think it's more likely it's just the title. I think the idea that they reworked the entire show. I mean, maybe they got some notes to tone some things down. There was that famous thing about Disney recently asking an upcoming Pixar movie to take out the theme of environmentalism, tone it down when the entire theme of the movie is environmentalism. How do you do that? How do you take hey, see that Star Wars movie you're making? Yeah, too much space in that. Tone down the space.
Yeah. It's almost as bad as the stupid Netflix directive to make sure all your characters are narrating what you do to make so you can have it as background noise. Like,
So someone revealed a note they got for that as well, which is, you know what? Yeah, that's why I don't watch hardly any Netflix shows anymore because
they are background noise.
Yeah, they're made to be that. It's what I was saying. I went on a rant recently. This is pointing back around Alien to a point, but I was ranting a little bit about movies like Alien Romulus, which I don't think is terrible. There's good things in it, but it's also very flawed, and it's very, referencey to the originals and tons of lines and whatnot. And it's this idea that modern nostalgia sequels and prequels are too we have to reference everything. We have to hold the original up in this pedestal in high regard. And I one of the things that I said and that I thought was a good way to put it is that obviously, yes, if you're making a sequel to Alien or a prequel to Alien or whatever, the chances of you making a movie that's as good or as important as Alien, or indeed Aliens in this case, because it happens to have two perfect movies basically, highly unlikely. In fact, it's almost infinitesimal.
You kind of have to be a master storyteller,
right,
to be hitting those.
Infinitesimal. But what you shouldn't be doing is at the starting line conceding. You should still be making something with the intention that you're trying to pull it off. Even if you're not going to do it, it'll still feel more genuine at the end if you were trying to do that the whole time. Having something be constantly referential and saying, hey, remember this line, remember that bit, remember this thing, you're saying in the script, you wrote it into the script, that other movie is more important than the movie we're making. It's more important than the movie you're watching. We're just here to reminisce, and that's all this is. That's the same thing that I'm going to say here about this second screen viewing bollocks, is that by telling the writers to accept at the start that their thing's not going to be paid attention to is absolutely dumb. Yes, obviously some things aren't that great and end up being good things to watch as background noise.
But no one, before this, no one set out with that intention.
Yeah, it's the same as a bad movie. A movie that intentionally tries to be so bad it's good never works. A movie that's trying, the director's delusional and thinks they're making a masterpiece, that's what turns out to be amazingly bad. Same principle. So,
yeah. Just the whole idea that the nostalgia base, it's why, I mentioned here, Andor and Skeleton Crew are by far the best Star Wars shows. They're the only two, out of all the Star Wars shows that Disney Plus have made, they're the only two that aren't referential at all. And that set out, with an identity to do their own thing. And they are easily the best. It's not even close. And it is, because they are doing their own thing. No, I tell a lie. Acolyte is also doing its own thing. And that was flawed, but not in the way that the internet demands that it is flawed. It has some flawed storytelling, and I think it has some structural problems, but that's like the problems that the internet, and by that I mean a certain section of the internet that are very vocal, have with that show are not the problem that show had. It tried. It did its own thing, and it tried to do its own thing, and I appreciate that. Even though these other two shows, again, they're the ones that they're doing their own thing. That they are so, written by people. They've got a vision of what this show is, and it is not just, hey, let's do a riff on this one thing from Star Wars. It's no, let's do this. And ironically, like Skeleton Crew is actually riffing on other things, but that's what makes it work. Like that it's that that cross pollination. So Skeleton Crew is riffing on like those 80s children's action adventure movies. It's riffing on that vibe in a Star Wars setting, and that's what makes it work. Because it's not just being like, hey, let's just do a Star Wars thing. Because like Star Wars ultimately was like, hey, George was like, hey, I love those samurai movies. Let's do them, but in space. And that worked. And so that's why these shows are let's do that, but in Star Wars, as opposed to let's do a Star Wars thing and just do that again because people like that. And people do like that, but it's boring.
Yeah. And as far as the second screen, like intentionally making it so that you don't have to pay attention to it. If you're conceding at the script writing phase that I don't have to pay attention to it, then it's not going to be good. It's not worth my time watching it. If it's not worth my attention, then it's not worth my attention at all.
Maybe I will put it on a second screen, but at that point, like it's very rare I put something on a second screen like anymore. Like I'd rather just, if I'm doing something that already requires my eyes to be doing something else, I'm more likely to listen to an audiobook or a podcast.
Yeah, that's podcast and YouTube time for me normally. That's why I put on the second screen material. And the reason why that works is because a podcast is designed to be listened to, so it can be the best of what it's supposed to be whilst being suitable for listening to while you're doing something else. Whereas a movie or a TV show is a visual medium. If you're supposed to engage with it on those levels, if it's not trying to be those things, then it's just fundamentally not trying to be a good version of what it's actually supposed to be.
It's insane. Like podcasts are an interesting one because like even us here now, there's a version with video, but it's not necessary by any means. Like I watch a lot of podcasts on YouTube. I'll watch the video version if I'm free and just watching them. Like I'm usually on my lunch break at work. But also if there's a new episode out and I'm, I don't know, washing the dishes, then I just listen to it instead, and it works like almost just as well. Like you might miss a few little visual things, but nothing that is essential. As opposed to, if I can watch a TV show without having to look at the screen, I'll just listen to an audio drama.
Yeah, it comes back to what I said before. A podcast or a radio drama or music, even, like all those things can be the best of what they're supposed to be when they're listened to that way. A TV show or movie is fundamentally saying we're not actually trying to do what we're supposed to be to make it work in this way that it's not supposed to work. And I'll never get on board with that. I will never
imagine being hired as a cinematographer on one of those shows. Like, how depressing must that be? You've spent years, learning your craft. You're like the thing is, a lot of these Netflix shows have a budget. They can hire someone pretty good, and then being told, "Yeah, we don't actually care about your best work. Just phone it in because no one's watching it anyway. They're just listening."
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't even think they'll say that to them necessarily, but it's more the like.
But they'll know.
They tell the writers what to do, and then the cinematographer can put in all the effort in the world to make it look good. But they can probably tell that the materials like being altered to work in a way that can ignore what they're doing, that can ignore the work they're putting in, and Anyway, that's back onto this list. We got more.
Just being annoyed at Netflix. They're being shitty.
Yeah, that's why most Netflix shows I don't even like. There was a time when I check out all Netflix originals. Now I have to hear praise. I have to hear active, like heavy praise to even consider looking at one now.
Honestly, pretty much the only Netflix like original stuff I've watched recently has been animation, because there they don't dare just phone it in as a let's just write it, to be listened to, because animation's too expensive to do compared to just shooting something usually, right?
I mean, it depends on what it is. Suppose,
Okay. But like, if you're just shooting a drama in in a building, like on sets, like you can shoot it at a reasonable cost, whereas animation will cost more than that.
That's why it's usually shorter.
Yeah. But also, they're gonna make sure you're looking at it because it costs them more to animate.
Anyway, back out of this list. Little Disasters, Paramount Plus, sometime this year. Little Disasters is a psychological thriller centered on a pediatrician, Dr. Liz Trenchard, who is surprised to find the child of her close friend Jess has been admitted to an accident and emergency. Wait, what? Has been admitted to accident and emergency. That's a weird sentence. Is that like a common thing people say about like the emergency room at the hospital or the emergency?
Well, you normally just want you admit to A&E. You go to A&E.
Yeah, I've just never heard anyone say it out loud like that, like out like that.
Is that an American thing?
Maybe.
Do they say it like that?
I'd expect to say the ER if anything, rather than saying out the accident and emergency. Well, whatever. Jess is an attentive mother, but Trenchard has a dreadful feeling that her friend's explanation of what happened doesn't reflect the child's injuries. As she alerts the authorities, Jess' life unravels and the guarded secrets surface with consequences for their friendship group. Okay, so obviously it's about a very serious subject. It's about a pediatrician who suspects that her friend's kid's being hurt or abused at home, either by her friend or maybe her friend's husband. They don't mention the husband here. I'm just assuming there's a husband involved. But yeah. So yeah, sounds cheery.
Yeah, I mean, this is not going to be an easy watch, I assume, but it could. It has, assuming it's done with talent, could be a very good show.
No, it could be. It could be. And I assume it's a limited series just based on the premise. It sounds like a one season type thing.
Yeah, but how many things are supposed to be a limited series and then aren't? They're going to use Shogun.
I mean, that doesn't change the fact that it's a limited. I mean, Shogun was a limited series. The fact that it's now not one doesn't change the fact that when it was released, it was a limited series.
It was, and then it wasn't.
And then, yeah, next up, and last up actually on my list here, is Running Point. Netflix sometime this year. This is co-written by Mindy Kaling. In Running Point, when a scandal forces her brother to resign, Isla?
ISLA?
Aye. Isla, okay. I thought so. I was just double checking. Isla Garden, played by Kate Hudson, is appointed president of the Los Angeles Waves, one of the most storied professional basketball franchise. I'm glad they told me what the Waves were, because I
you could have given me a million guesses. I would not have got there.
Is that a made up team? Because like I feel like it's the Lakers, right?
Yeah. What city was it?
Los Angeles.
Waves.
Yeah.
I
mean, they may have more than one basketball team, I suppose, but I've never heard of the Waves.
Yeah, when I search it, it's only coming up with this show.
Okay, so yeah, it's just a fictional. Which fair enough. That's fine. You're allowed to do that, but
I think I did. It looks like it's an actual. It's a cricket. LA Waves is a cricket club.
Cricket?
Yeah, cricket. I was like, they play cricket in LA.
Why would they do that to themselves?
That's so bizarre.
City's on fire. I mean, do something better with your time.
Yeah.
Anyway, ambitious and often overlooked, Isla will have to prove her skeptical brothers, the board, and larger sports community that she was right choice for the job, especially in the unpredictable male-dominated world of sports. That sounds like a kind of weird, less interesting Ted Lasso to me. Sounds like, not obviously, like that wasn't the character who was the main focus on Ted Lasso, but the idea that this woman end up in charge of a sports team and has to sort of fight against that. Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah, I can see the comparison.
But yeah, I don't know. I never really watched Mindy Kaling's last show that she wrote.
Which one was that? I just did a couple.
Was she a vet or a doctor, or what I say? Because she was in it as well.
Or a doctor. That's.
I seem to remember a white lab coat kind of thing.
Okay,
I could be wrong.
That's something to go on. I wonder if I can find that.
Mindy Kaling vet show.
Yeah. Let's.
Oh, is that just the Mindy Project? I think that might just be called the Mindy Project.
Okay, yeah. That wasn't recent, was it? No, that ended in 2017. Was it?
But relative. That's the last thing I remember.
Last thing she did was The Sex Lives of College Girls, and Never Have I Ever before that. She did the TV show 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
For that, news to me. I don't know. Never even seen the movie.
Have you not? It's not exactly a you saw movie, but I just thought you might have seen it in passing.
Nah, never appealed to me.
That's fine.
So, yeah. Do you know they're doing a Bridget Jones 4?
Yeah.
I got a trailer.
Do you know why I know? Because every middle-aged woman I know is very excited about it.
I had this weird experience at the movies. I got trailers back to back. One was Baby Girl, which is about Nicole Kidman getting into like a weird affair with a much younger man. And then right after it is Bridget Jones 4, in which her love interest from the previous movies is dead, and she's flirting with a 20-something-year-old. And I'm like, why is there so many movies right now about like older women dating like 20-somethings? It's a weird trend to get back to back like that.
Was it a trend when men did it in movies for decades?
I mean, touche. That's a fair point. But this felt. I mean, maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'm just like not used to Hollywood being like, oh, we're not giving up on these stars that we've had for 30 years. We have to keep putting them in movies. So now, but we want a hot co-star, and no one wants another old person as a co-star. So we have to just write a plot that's about. A big mismatch of age. What
I think is amusing is when it was the other way around, it was never a big plot that was about it. It was just there and entirely unaddressed.
Yeah, and it was as time went on, it was critiqued more and more of like, oh, this is ludicrous that Tom Cruise's love interest keeps staying the same age and he keeps getting older.
Yeah.
It was funny though because there were very different tones. Baby Girl's like a kind of raunchy 50 Shades type, like sub and dom relationship. And then like Bridget Jones is like, falling out of a tree and whatever. I've never seen a Bridget Jones.
It's rom-com.
Yeah, it looked like holy shit, if I'm honest, but that's okay.
I did not enjoy the other ones, so yeah. Well, I say them. I've only seen the first 2. I haven't seen the third one.
Yes, because there was the Diary, the Baby. And then Bridget Jones's Last Will and Testament. No, that'll be the 5th one they do. That'll be the conclusion. That's what they should call the last one. Bridget Jones's Last Will and Testament.
Edge of Reason was the second one. Diary, Edge of Reason, and then Baby was the third one, which was already like a good decade later than the second one. Which is why I never saw that one, because I'd seen the first 2 because they came out at a time where I'm like, like my mum had them on in the house.
This is just an example of they can't let franchises go. So we're like, you think something's getting a nostalgia sequel or a legacy sequel, and then another 10 years pass and we're doing it again. Like
you literally so the first 2 movies, 2001, 2004, that's perfectly reasonable. And then 2016, and you're like, okay, that was a gap, but fine, maybe you got something to say about a decade later.
Yeah, that's a bit later than I would have thought.
And then 2025, so like another 9-year gap. Yeah, okay.
How
did we get onto this?
Because I got the trailers back to back.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't know how I ended up talking about that. Something sparked my memory on it.
No.
But there you go. That's the first news episode of 2025.
Are there any season 2s of things that you're particularly looking forward to?
Oh, yeah.
That did not include any season 2s.
I mean, Severance is very soon, January 17th. 10 episodes, baby. I'm looking forward to that. Currently working through and enjoying Squid Game season 2. That was Boxing Day that came out.
I've heard very mixed things about season 2.
It's been very divisive. Now I've not got to the end yet, and I know that it was basically done as one big story and split in 2. So I'm expecting a cliffhanger at the end of episode 7. But I think it's doing some interesting things so far. Maybe some nitpicks to be had, but I'm mostly pretty positive. Last of Us season 2, I'm looking forward to. I am looking forward to the final season of Stranger Things, because 4 was pretty fantastic. I don't know if there's anything off the top of my head of like returning seasons. It's so hard to predict, because because I mentioned they're filming Fallout, but I don't think Fallout's going to be this year. I think Fallout's going to probably be early 2026, given the way these things seem to work out.
Probably fair, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm looking for. I mean, obviously, I'm attached to the Alien franchise for better or worse. So I'm.
You're gonna watch it.
I am anticipating Alien Earth in some capacity. I have to admit, out of all those new things I read out that I've not heard of before, can't say any of them are particularly jumping at me as, oh hey, I need to check that out.
No, there's a couple that with a good trailer I could be convinced to check out, but nothing really grabbed me. I know I've got some season 2 stuff coming up. I got or more. I've got season 2, the latest Castlevania show on Netflix. I think that's next week. Reacher season 3 is end of next month, I think. And while I don't think Reacher is a good show, I do have fun with it. So, and then obviously there's a new season of Doctor Who coming in a couple of months, and obviously I will be watching that religiously.
Yeah, saying Reacher's a good show would be a bit of a reach.
Yeah, that's I'm not. How dare you take that long to do that?
I was building anticipation because my assumption would be you know what I was about to say.
Do you know what? If you'd said it sooner, I would have done. But because you waited until I'd moved on to Doctor Who...
because you barreled into the next show, I was like, no, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a good pause. I want to do this properly.
You had to bring it back. You had to bring it back for that.
Oh, dear. I think I want to say Silo Season 2 is ongoing right now, but I hate Season 1, so...
oh, really?
Yeah. It's red tape the show. There's some interesting things in the first couple of episodes, and then all it does is find ways for characters to not advance the plot and just constantly have things get in their way, and then finally progress things in the last episode to a fairly predictable reveal. And yeah, so I had no interest in trying Season 2.
Fair. The only other new thing I'm looking forward to that you definitely don't care about is there's a new Gundam show they just announced, like literally just a couple of weeks ago. And it's from the creators of Evangelion, which I think is very interesting to kind of take, just probably the most famous, influential mech anime, and then throw them into Gundam now, like the other big mech anime, and just like see how different that is. I think that'll be really interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I've got to admit, it's a little bit later, TV-wise. It's felt a bit later to me for the last couple of years, and I don't know if it's just because one is Netflix just moving away from making, good stuff for the most part. One, I think, is just they're all tightening their belts a little bit, because, times have been, less than profitable, because, we've had the conversation many times about the streaming bubble bursting, and everyone realizing, the old model actually made more money, so this has all been a bit of a rush to a mistake kind of thing. So, I don't know, hopefully there'll be some surprises. The back half of the year is mostly pretty empty, so we don't really know what's coming.
We didn't mention, during all of those new shows, HBO Max got nothing?
There was nothing in this list. I mean...
Yeah, that's kind of surprising, right? That we have nothing for the entire year, or roughly.
I mean, Last of Us Season 2 is, but I mean...
But that's just core HBO, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, HBO and HBO Max are basically just merged. Like, the delineation between them is basically gone.
Do they not make anything for Max anymore?
Not specifically, no. It's all just both.
I thought they were still doing that.
Yeah.
So, fair enough, then.
I don't even know what HBO shows are on. 18 HBO original series to get excited about in 2025. This is IndieWire.
All right. Well, I don't believe they have 18 shows to be excited about.
The Pit.
What a thrilling title.
Someone from ER's writing it.
Way to sell it on me.
It's a medical show. Yeah.
Oh, get that.
Oh, how could I forget this? It. Welcome to Derry. An
I had forgotten
TV
that.
show. Yeah, I do not want it. I hated it. Chapter 2.
Yeah. You want more prequels though?
Task. This has got Mark Ruffalo in it.
Oh.
Yeah, 4 years after Mayor of Easton, creator Brad Inglesby is back in Pennsylvania. Not for season 2, but with the new HBO crime drama led by Mark Ruffalo. Limited series follows an FBI task force assigned to put an end to a string of drug house robberies in Philadelphia's working class suburbs, carried out by an unsuspected family man. Okay. Yeah,
Could be good.
Yeah, these are all lists I look at. We're slacking. They missed these HBO shows out. There's the Game of Thrones prequel I didn't want to bother putting in.
Which one was it?
A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully that
Pretty
be
sure that's the
something.
Hedge stuff, yeah.
The Chair Company. This is Tim Robinson's thing. So, if you like Tim Robinson, perhaps you like that. Duster. That's a majestic haircut in this man. What is this? Created by J.J. Abrams.
Why was this not on your list?
And Latoya Moore. I don't know. Apparently, Deadline were slacking with their preview list.
Is this because they don't have like date windows? Maybe.
Possibly. I mean, it just says 2025.
Yeah.
But it says confirmed 2025. So where are we? Right. Abrams co-wrote the first 2 episodes with fellow EP Latoya Morgan, which follows the first black female FBI agent as she recruits a getaway driver to help her take down an emergent southwestern crime syndicate in 1972. In the press release for the series pickup, Abrams described the show as wild, wily, and wacky. Okay. It's got some badass car
Those would not have been the
chases.
words I predicted based off of that description.
Yeah, they also it's got badass car chases. So it's a period 1970s crime action-y show.
That could be fun.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember the early days of this being talked about, but it didn't have a title yet. It was just J.J. Abrams is working about something with the FBI at HBO.
Yeah, I don't think we had anywhere near that much detail.
Untitled Rachel Sennett series.
Okay, don't care about untitled shows right now.
That's fair.
Let me know when we have more information.
But do you like Rachel Sennett?
I have no strong opinions either way.
I like Bottoms, so I guess I'll give her some points for that. Harley Quinn season 5.
It's still going.
Yes. Season 5 premieres on January 16th.
Fair enough.
There's going to be a season 3 of White Lotus.
That makes sense.
Last of Us season 2 we mentioned. And then there's And Just Like That season 3, which is the Sex and the City spin-off or continuation
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got. I think it's just missing one cast member, so they retitled it. Right? Is that it?
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's still going. Speaking of, we can't let things go. The show that started in the 90s is still coming back again and again. Frasier's got a new show. Sex and the City's got a sequel show. The Connors, a Roseanne sequel's on the air, I think, still.
Yeah. God forbid we have new things.
We can't let anything go. Oh, Peacemaker season 2 is meant to be 2025. That's the thing.
Yes. Yeah. That will come out.
Which is in canon with the new universe, but season 1 was not. Just keep that straight.
Somehow.
Hacks season 4 will be a thing. Gilded Age season 3 is a thing. Righteous Gemstones season 4 is a thing. Rehearsal season 2 is a thing. Untitled Steve Carell project. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here. A lot of season 2s and 3s and whatnot. First Day on Earth.
What's that?
It's a drama co-produced by the BBC and A24. It's about a British novelist who takes a job in Ghana, West Africa, to jumpstart her career and reconnect with her dad, who lives there. But neither one of her professional or personal plans go as expected, and she's forced to adapt on the fly.
Very good. We couldn't get through a full episode without it being just there.
No. Connor's trying not to drink as much though, so he's not.
It's only on certain days, and today's not one of those days.
Yes. He's quarantined his alcoholism to 2 days a week.
It's actually only 1 day a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it would have been today that I could drink, but weather has changed my plans, which means it is no longer today.
And then that's it. That's everything listed here on this article from IndieWire for 2025. They do list a few things for 2026 without any info. It's just Euphoria Season 3, House of the Dragon, Industry, Untitled Harry Potter series, Lanterns, which is of interest, because, Green Lantern, and DTF.
I'll believe some of these later.
Sure. I mean, Lanterns has had some news, and they've been reworking stuff and whatnot. So
from scratch, by the sounds of it.
Yes, but that at least seems like an intention of actually doing something with it.
Yeah,
which is something. And hey, Penguin was pretty good. So I mean, if more of James Gunn's like sort of, tenure at the head of DC Entertainment, can give me some more stuff in that caliber.
Still wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still wild, and it's weird as well because that's connected to the Batman, but that's not in the new universe. But
I'm sure there was some comments from like the last week or so where they were like, "Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it will be,"
or maybe maybe there'll be like a crisis or something.
They're talking about it the way he talked about Peacemaker, being like, maybe the second one will be in continuity.
Oh Jesus!
I'm like, this is getting so convoluted already.
Yeah. The first movie of this universe isn't even out yet. It's already confusing.
Yeah. Love it.
Dear. All right. Well, there you go. That's the first news, dare I say, of the year. So yeah, plan is about twice a month we'll do this. This one I expect them to be a bit longer than this, to be honest, going forward when there's actually news to dig into. This was a bit lighter in that regard, but just to sort of keep you up to date what's happening with reviews right now. Our Star Trek reviews are back. They've been back for a couple of weeks now. Mostly alternating between the two shows, but we are following the original air dates. So occasionally, if the original air dates altered that pattern, then so will we. So if they aired 2 Next Gens and then 2 Deep Space Nines, that's how we'll do it too. So they are back and going, typically on Wednesdays. I'm working through Squid Game Season 2 right now. Episode 4 of that just went out. As well as my Patreon commitments. I've been doing 80s Twilight Zone, 1 or 2 other things for the rest of the month. If you're missing X-Files and Person of Interest, they will be back in a couple of weeks probably, but that'll probably be after I'm done with Squid Game Season 2, and those slots kind of open back up, especially with Severance Season 2 starting very soon, which luckily is weekly, but the binge shows really kind of get in the way of the schedule, because I need to get through them. So yeah, that's what's going on TV review-wise right now. So, otherwise, though, check out Male Fuzz Movies for various movie podcasts. Die Hard season is just about to wrap up as of today. And I did not enjoy seeing A Good Day to Die Hard again. It's absolute trash. I
am glad I have never watched it.
And one of the most baffling things I learned when we went to review it, actually, is that the extended cut is actually a little bit shorter than the theatrical cut. Which I've heard of that of a director's cut, but it's weird to use the title extended when it's shorter.
Extended implies longer. I assume it's with no context of having seen it. I assume it's referring to extended violence.
I don't know if it extended because it was already R-rated. It wasn't like it was censored for the release. I think they extended some action sequences or whatever, but notably they cut out all the scenes with Mary Elizabeth Winstead in them for some reason.
Why?
Because the one woman was the problem, apparently, they thought.
I assume you've seen both versions now.
I've only seen the theatrical, but I looked up what the differences were.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, I wonder which version's better.
There is no better.
Well, all right, less worse.
I mean, on the one hand, there's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I guess I like, but I mean, it's not like her character's any good in the movie. However, on the other hand, shorter.
Yeah.
But it's like a 3 minute difference, so it's nothing you're going to notice one way or the other. So it's just a weird change. But yeah, if you want to go hear the full dissection of Die Hard 5 and indeed all the Die Hards, all of those episodes should be out by now. And we're going on to the Airport franchise in a couple of weeks. There's a week off between seasons, and then we'll be out of the Airport franchise. And then the other shows are popping as well. Nosferatu got reviewed on Screams. And over Christmas, we did Attack of the Clones on the Atomic Cinema Experiment. So if you want to hear that be completely torn apart as well, you can go check out that too. But otherwise, support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/MailFuzzTV helps out both channels, keeps all the content coming if you like to do that. If you want to just support the TV channel, you can do that via YouTube membership. If that's for some reason what you'd rather do, then by all means, the option's there. But that is us. So thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?